Did you know that St. Luke's University Health Network, based in the Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania, has been recognized by the U.S. government as the highest performing health system in the United States for quality? You heard right. St. Luke's #1 recognition affirms our status as the top leader among the most respected healthcare providers in the nation, including Houston Methodist and the Mayo Clinic. To state it simply, if you want to receive the best care when you go to a hospital, come to St. Luke's.
Excuse me! Taxi!
Come on, what are you doing? This is the 77 WABC minicast.
We have the former mayor of Miami on.
Yes.
Francis Suarez.
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
And he prefers you to bring him in, Rita.
Because his mother is named Rita. That's why.
Okay.
So he likes Rita.
Rita,
okay?
Rita.
Rita. So, Mr. Mayor, it's great to have you here. And we love having you here. And boy,
we
what
have
a
one of
great
your
day.
old friends in the studio with us today. We have former Congressman Vito Fossella.
Francis, how are you?
Love Vito. Vito, I still have the flag that you gave me, the American flag, in my office here in my home. So Vito is a dear friend, a longtime friend, and a great American. Look, I think, you guys took a lot of my talking points in your intro, which is essentially that it's a watershed day for America and for Cuba. I was doing a Fox News hit earlier in the day, and they prefaced my hit with President Clinton, who was a president in 1996, talking about the incident.
Yep.
He was talking about the incident, right? In the presidential press office, right? And he's in the press room, and he's saying, right? He's articulating the fact that, as John said, that this was an unarmed. These were two unarmed planes. That they were in international waters. That they were not in Cuba's sovereign waters, and that this was basically an act against international law. And here's where I think it gets interesting, right? You have the President of the United States articulating this, and then nothing happens. So what signal does that send to the world?
Why do you think nothing happened? Mr. Mayor, because that is an important point. And by the way, I don't know if you know, I interviewed the Brothers to the Rescue, and I was the only American journalist to get into Cuba right after this incident happened. So I was there in Cuba.
Rita,
that was wild.
Yeah, Rita, I think nothing happened because the policy of the United States prior to President Trump was always paralysis by analysis. It was worried about all of the things that could go wrong if they did something. So I'm sure there was somebody in the Situation Room that said, hey, if you attack Cuba or if you retaliate, then Russia's going to do this or China's going to do that, and you're going to have World War III on your hands in no time. And the president probably said at the time, you know what? I mean, how many people care about this issue? How many people care about Cuba in America? This is not one of those issues that drives elections or drives election results. And you know what? People are not going to remember this in a week, right? That's probably what happened back then. And I think that misses so many points. It misses, first of all, the macro point of, it's kind of like when Obama said, he drew the red line in the sand on Syria, and then they crossed the red line, and then he did nothing about it. When an American president, articulates that someone has killed Americans in international waters, without justification, without a response, that emboldens our enemies. Period, full stop. And what you see with this president is a complete change in attitude. And I think it has to do with the fact that he's not a politician. This is not a guy who came up in politics. This is a business guy, right, who essentially acts like a businessman on decisions. And his view is, if you have an enemy that is thumbing his nose in your face, creating havoc in your backyard, you got to do something about it. You can't let some little, enemy be a bully and try to push you around.
You want to say punk. You want to say punk.
I did want to say that, and I didn't. I held back.
Is that the Spanish word?
You so got me on that one, guys. You got me. See, You're 100% exposed me there. But yeah, you're right. You know, these guys who are just insignificant. And the president is, you know, let me tell you something. Our kids are going to be thanking him. Our kids who are going to grow up in a world that is generationally peaceful, because you have Iran no longer possessing nuclear weapons or having the capability of obtaining nuclear weapons. You have a pathway to peace in the Middle East. He's already gotten halfway there with the Abraham Accords, right? You have a situation where there are no threats, no credible threats in our hemisphere, right? China's depowered. Russia's depowered because of Venezuela, right? And Cuba, which was a spy base 90 miles away from the United States, a narco state, bringing drugs into our country, right? These are things that, and by the way, creating illegal immigration, this is one thing that I think has not been discussed enough. We talk about illegal immigration a lot in this country, a lot. A lot of Americans care about it. But nobody actually looks at the root cause of illegal immigration. The root cause of illegal immigration is poverty in our hemisphere. Okay, and what is the root cause of poverty in our hemisphere? Socialism and communism. If you take it all the way back, right, all these left regimes in all these countries, in Venezuela, in Cuba, in Nicaragua.
Now in New York.
And Argentina was, yeah, exactly. And New York's going to go down the same path. You know, and I've been talking about it very openly, in fact, I challenged Mandami to a debate, right? Because there's a reason why Miami Cubans are successful and Cuban Cubans are not, right? We're the same people, right? There's a reason why South Koreans are a foot taller than North Koreans, right? They have a better diet. They have a better per capita GDP, right? Cubans in Cuba are living off $300 a year. Okay, $300 a year. It's insane. It's insane. And the way Democrats are allowed to manipulate this issue, right, by creating false boogeymen like, oh, the system is rigged, or, you know, it's just about taxing the rich more. They're so rich, we should just tax them more. You know, Jeff Bezos today came out and said, you know, the 1% is paying 40% of their taxes, and the bottom percent is paying 3% of the taxes. Right. So it's this nonsense that, like, rich people are not paying taxes. They're paying the lion's share of the taxes. Right. You want to pay more taxes. And what is government doing with the money? Right. And he said it. He was right. We have a spending problem. We don't have a revenue problem. We're generating plenty of revenue. Right. So, you know, it's just crazy.
Absolutely, it is. And let's go to Vito Fasella.
Francis, first off, I hope you and your family are doing well. You did a great job.
We are, Vito. Thank you.
Running that great city, and it's thriving. You helped to set the table. And there's not a community around of Americans of Cuban descent that are more patriotic and love this country and can't stand socialism because they had to live or practically live under it. I'm curious, Francis, what's been the general reaction to the Cuban American community with this new indictment?
I mean, they're extremely excited, Vito. You can imagine this has been a generation since the 1960s of an inability to visit the country, of an inability to interact with the country for many, many people, because some people did go back and some people do interact, but I haven't. You know, it's a vindication. It's a moment where you feel that not only will your country be liberated, but, you know, this existential threat of communism, this constant fraud that's being perpetuated on humanity, takes a big step back, right? Because what Cubans learned from the KGB, and yes, they were trained by the KGB, by the Russians, when it was the Soviet Union, was they learned how to spy, but that's not all they learned. They learned also how to influence. Right, they learned how to misinform and disinform.
Propaganda.
The Russians and the propaganda.
Yeah.
And so they became experts at that. And what they did was they exported their ideologies, the only export that had any value to them, right? Their ideology throughout the hemisphere, right? To try to control government and money, many of which became narco states. And then that poverty is what drove illegal immigration to the U.S. So it was a geopolitical strategy of our enemies to try to weaken us by creating this illegal immigration through this impoverishment.
Yeah, opening up the jails, too. Let's not forget about that.
Listen,
Fernando.
I'll tell you, Mayor Suarez. Mayor Suarez, I met you with my son-in-law, Jim Ferraro, down in Florida a while ago. Yeah.
He's the best.
Yeah, he is. But I wanted to mention to you the Dominican Republic back in 1965, I mean, they had a dictatorship for 30 years. And, you know, once that dictatorship was over, the United States intervened so that we would not have a communist country. Okay? It's the United States. Lyndon B. Johnson was not afraid to send the military in there to say, we don't want another Cuba. So while they were doing that, they liberated and made sure that Dominican Republic didn't become a communist country. So you, like me, were both immigrants, right? You, like me, and our families, you know, ran from communism, ran from all that tyranny, right? From all that poverty, right? For success. So I don't understand why it took 30 years for Trump to come around and finally indict the person responsible at 94.
Right.
You know, now the thing
there's
is,
a lack of courage.
Well,
there's a lack of courage.
Well,
you know,
now they know where he's at.
Are you shocked to know that there are non-courageous politicians?
No, by the way, I have the $64 million question that no one's asked. So what's going to happen with Raul Castro? I mean, is he going to be able to?
Here's what I think.
Yeah, do you think is he going to be coming here? Right.
Yeah, look, I mean, I don't think any of this stuff is a mystery, right? I think that if you look at what Trump has done and what he said, it shouldn't feel like a mystery to them, right? Look at Radcliffe's social media message the day he returned from Cuba. Okay, he put it on his social media. This is the CIA director. First of all, when the CIA director goes to your country on a not so secret mission, right? Because everybody knew about it. You know something big is about to happen, right? Number one. Number two, he comes back and he doesn't create like a clandestine smoke signal message. He basically says, do not become like Venezuela and make the same mistake that Maduro made. Period. Full stop.
So do you think he'll be on U.S. soil, Mr. Mayor?
I think he will have a decision to make. And the decision will be, you can leave of your own accord, go to whatever country you want, maybe take a certain amount of your wealth, because he has a lot of wealth. Or you can, I don't know if you guys remember the movie Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Lock them up. Lock them up.
Or you get nothing. You get nothing and you end up in a New York jail, which is the same value prop that they probably gave Maduro. And it's the same value prop that I'm sure they gave the Shah of Iran. I mean, not the Shah, the
Panama guy.
The Ayatollah. The Ayatollah in Iran, right? They told him, hey, you got two choices. You could come with us or you can get out or we're going to kill you. And they killed him, and when he didn't acquiesce. So, again, I don't understand why these guys can't see the resolve of the president and they can't see that it's a new day in the U.S.
Yeah, 100%.
Maybe they're on a suicide mission. Who knows? But they're going to find out.
Yeah, they sure will. Well, Mr. Mayor, thank you very much. We really appreciate it.
It's always great talking to you guys.
Oh, so great. And what a great day to be having you on to celebrate with this news.
It absolutely is.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mayor. An honor to have you. Thank you.
Get ready, Staten Island. It's time to celebrate 5 years of Ferry Hawks baseball.
Friday, May 22nd at 7 p.m. it's Scout Night. This $16 ticket includes Ferry Hawks Special Edition 2026 Scout Patch. And for just $25 more, it's a Scout sleepover and breakfast the next morning. And post-game, all kids glow around the bases. Saturday, May 23rd at 1 p.m. it's Matinee Baseball. And Sunday, May 24th at 1:30 p.m. Matinee Baseball.
Visit ferryhawks.com now to lock in your seats.